On this holiday edition of the Layover Live, we have a special celebrity joining us to talk net neutrality, Jim Belushi.
Really?
Yeah. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 9 of the Layover Live, where we bring you the top article from the Layover each week. I'm Jason Swick, Director of Digital Marketing, joined by Vice President of Sales, Steven Seagal.
Really, dude?
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Okay, I had to do it, right? So, Greg Evans, everybody knows Greg Evans already, right? Should come as no surprise. But Greg, one thing I do want to talk about today, you and I actually really just got back from our leadership, our leadership summit at Google, where we spent the week going over plans for next year. One of the hot items and buzzes, though, while we were out there was net neutrality. So I wanted to talk about that. So maybe give our DMO friends out there a little bit first about what net neutrality is and how this may or may not affect DMOs.
Yeah, I think maybe because we're in the space, I think we were all watching it pretty closely, but even my wife was like, hey, what's this net neutrality thing? And I'm like, you don't know what this is about? This is huge, right? So I'll just kind of give the broad strokes and then maybe dig in a little bit more in our space. So basically what it is this concept of monitoring the internet, right? And potentially monetizing it. This is being pushed for, and not surprisingly, the internet service providers, the Comcast, the Verizons, because essentially right now they're a utility.
Right.
We pay our bandwidth fees and we have access to the entire internet. So this concept is that they're essentially going to throttle that back and say, hey, we're going to maybe bifurcate or trifurcate the internet into high speed, delivery of websites.
Like a fast lane, right?
Think about, I guess a good analogy would be, I guess you do kind of pay tolls to be on a freeway, but the idea that you would always have to pay to get on a freeway, it's the same thing with the internet. Or even worse would be, hey, for $50 a month, you can access Yahoo, CNN, Facebook. Oh, you want to access another dozen sites? That's $100 a month. Or, hey, I clicked this link and it's like, I'm sorry, this isn't part of your package, right? So
and even taking that, it could even get expensive for, on the other side, so that's the consumer side, then it affects them, right? On the other side of the fence, it could even affect the cost of putting a website up, because it might be for someone like a Netflix who's using a ton of broadband, internet service providers may tax them for more because they're using more of the internet.
Well, and potential hoops to play. So if there's different tiers, right now, if I want to create a website for anything, maybe it's Steven Seagal, lookalike.com.
Which would probably do really well.
I hope so.
Okay.
I'd sell some ads on it. Well, we'll get to how that's affected too, though, right?
Sure.
But right now, if I wanted to start that website, I could compete with whoever I was competing against. I'd have an even playing field. The concern, and rightfully so, is that this is going to uneven the playing field. That I will have to come through an average company, a startup, whatever it may be, is not going to have the buying power, the lobbying power. Let's talk about conflict of interest. The fact that Comcast owns NBC Universal. So if Comcast is my internet provider and Netflix is a direct competitor to NBC Universal,
could be some issues.
You don't think they're going to throttle one over the other from a competitive advantage? Of course. Now, they're all saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to be fine. We know where that's going to go. So that's the fear.
Yes.
So that's that side of it. But also, I think from us drilling down to the DMO space, where this is really hard, is our brand is our user experience.
Right.
And speed of a website, the effectiveness of reach of a website is all of a sudden potentially at risk.
Yes.
And so as a brand marketer, you are going to be forced to pay to play on both sides of the fence, and your consumers may not even be able to get to your brand. And so that's why this is really, really kind of scary, and why everyone's really up in arms about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And just to put a bow on that, I think the good news is that governments are typically pretty slow to do pretty much anything. So the good thing is that
it's been contested already.
This will take time to adopt and put into place. I can only imagine the amount of lawsuits and repeals and everything else this is probably going to go through.
Absolutely.
But the fact of the matter, if it does hold, it's only a matter of time before there's some changes that are going to be coming, whatever they may be.
Absolutely, and I think it's just more important for people to be aware of it, and within your own communities lobby against it. And what's interesting when you look at some of the research, it's not a political thing. Republicans and Democrats are all rowing in the same direction. And I would argue that you take away the internet, I think people are going to lose their minds. So we might be having people marching on the White House with pitchforks, and I think it's going to self-correct.
Yes.
But what's interesting about it is it kind of puts the whole it makes you really appreciate the freedom of the internet and what we have. And because you just take it for granted. I mean, it's a phenomenal extension of our freedom, and this is just for the United States. And so it just kind of puts all that in perspective as brand marketers and as consumers.
Yeah, good point, Greg. And I think taking it and digging deeper into it brings up our article of the week. So if you have a chance to dig a little deeper into what Greg is talking about, what we're talking about here today, check out our article that we're featuring this week from Moz. This article was actually written, or actually on Moz's Whiteboard Friday back in August, which was interesting enough. But Rand Fishkin of Moz does an incredible job of explaining this, so make sure you go check that out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the whiteboard kind of infographic that he does that maybe we'll throw up on the screen is a phenomenal kind of one-shot infographic of kind of cause and effect and all those different sides of the argument we just talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you check that out. So that then, Greg, brings us to our question of the day, which we love to answer always for clients, right?
Sure.
And I'm sure you get a lot of them. Right?
I do.
Every now and then.
It's all right.
Okay, so this one comes from Gretchen in Knoxville.
Okay.
And what Gretchen wants to know is, hey, moving into 2018, what type of digital marketing platform, whether that's email or social or paid, is really showing to have the highest ROI?
ROI question?
ROI question. I know it's always been challenging for DMOs. We've been at the helm, I think, really preaching this beyond the click, thinking about conversion.
It is.
ROI has always been challenging for DMOs, and the fact that they're typically in the aspirational stage, inspirational stage, planning stage. Right. We don't always get the credit for the booking, although we know DMOs are definitely influencing that. So what do you think the best is out there today to really show that?
Yeah, from a technology in a package, if you will, I really think marketing automation, and really just all that intel that brings, and bringing us closer to getting away from vanity metrics and kind of high level, really insubstantial and just candidly worthless metrics at this point in time, and really getting down to inferred opportunity, right?
Yes.
How can we actually hand off that business? And I think automation creates a whole set of tools that really does touch and almost close the loop.
Yes.
And it continues to evolve, much like a lot of technologies, to really get to a point where you can say, this person touched our branding here and ultimately visited here. And then you can start to actually tie those things together and infer and maybe even directly correlate that connection and that effect. And I think that's ROI.
I agree with you, and I think I would absolutely agree in the fact that marketing automation, I think, is that platform that's taking the step in the right direction. It's the closest we've got to being able to tie in content with email, with paid media, with social, and a million other things, and to really be able to drive home a personalized message for consumers.
And the journey.
Just
all those
map out the customer's journey.
Right. Because the challenge the DMOs face is they're one step on a mini stop path for a consumer. And so it's hard to kind of piece that together, and this starts to kind of shine a light and illuminate that and kind of remove the fog of war, which is really great.
No, very, very true. And attribution's even making some plays moving into that space.
We were just talking about that at Google.
Which is crazy, right?
It's awesome.
So
awesome stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Gretchen, thank you so much for that question. It's excellent.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you sharing those. Again, each and every week, if you have a question that you would love for us to feature on the air, please get them into us. We'd love to hear from you guys. Again, thanks. Happy holidays. Great happy holidays to you and your family. And we'll see you guys after the break.